Hi, I'm Trish from TrishNewbery.com, and thanks for buying my patterns and thanks for watching the sew along today. So we are sewing the Japanese style crossback apron. This is a really fast sew. You can make it even faster if you don't want the pockets. You can also adjust this pattern to be reversible simply by cutting out another complete pattern, sewing it together and turning it inside out. So you have a few options with this, but it is one of those classics that keeps on going forever. So what we're going to do is start on the pockets. This pocket we're sewing today is a patch pocket with a curve. Now if you're really struggling with the idea of sewing this curve, you can certainly cut this pattern piece off to be more of a rectangle shape, but the curve is actually not too bad to sew. We just have a little trick involved in sewing it. The first thing we need to do is place a pocket piece wrong side up. We're going to go to our iron and press that under by 5mm, 1/4 inch, and then press it again by 2.5 centimeters, 1 inch. So what we want to do is, in total, we want there to be 3 centimeters, 1 9/16 of an inch turned. So what we want to do is end up with the top of this at the notch position like so. So I'll just zip away and go and press that. Now what we're going to do is just sew across that to secure it down just in from the edge, and there's no need to back tack this, going from one side to the other. So when you've done this for one pocket, go ahead and repeat it for the other pocket. So now you'll be wanting to know how we get this beautiful curve in the corners of our curved pockets. Well, what we do is we cut a template. So the template piece is provided. Basically what it is a piece of firmer cardboard. See, it's not that firm, but it's firm enough that it will hold up under the pressure of the steam in the iron, and that's the finished size of our pocket. So what we're going to do is place this like so on top of our pattern piece, and with the tip of our iron we're going to press this up like so. So when you're finished, this is what your pocket will look like, and as you can tell we have a perfect curve into place, and it's just a little bit of a cheat's way of making sure the pocket looks beautiful. So go ahead and press that into place, and then we can sew the pocket on. The next step in our process is to locate the drill holes, and what I've done is I've just put the hole for the drill hole as marked by the position of the head of my pin. Now these pockets slant into the center, so at the moment I'm sewing the left front. So my fabric is right side up and my pocket is right side up. And what we're going to do, these drill holes are marked 1 centimeter, 3/8 of an inch in and down from the finished pocket position. So what that means is we estimate 1 in and 1 down, so 3/8 of an inch in and down, and we put a pin there. Then we put that pin directly on top of the drill hole like so, and we do the same for the other side. You just have to guesstimate to the best of your ability 1 in and 1 down, and then place that directly on top of the drill hole. And that is our pocket placement. Now what we need to do is just make sure that pocket is sitting nicely. Now you can refer back to the pattern and adjust it to sit precisely, but if those first two are in the correct place, you'll find the rest of the pocket will just sit where it's supposed to. And these pockets do angle in, so they angle in towards the center, so they're not going to be parallel. Alright, so just secure that in place with a few pins around the edge and make sure everything is sitting nice and flat. The fabric I'm sewing today is a linen blend. It's got a jacquard gold weave through it. It is a bit challenging to sew, but so now we're going to secure this pocket into place by sewing an edge stitch. I'm actually going to do 2 lines of stitching. I'm going to do a top stitch as well. So what we need to do when we do the top is just make sure any of the messy bits are tucked under. And when we start sewing the edge stitch, just make sure you back tack and then continue around that pocket. Go slowly around the curve. Right, so that's my pocket stitched into place. Now you can certainly leave it like that if you like. I'm going to sew a second line of stitching just for reinforcing. I do like to pop things like cell phones and things in my pocket while I'm cooking, so it doesn't hurt to have extra reinforcing. So I'm just going to sew that 5mm, just under 1/4 of an inch away from the first line of stitching. Now, if you wanted to, of course, you could use a twin needle to sew that on with. I personally don't think it would have a huge amount of strength, and you are better off sewing 2 lines of plain sewing. The other thing about doing it this way is that if you have a contrast fabric, you could also use contrast thread, just to make it a little bit more interesting. Alright, so there is our pocket sewn into place. So we're just going to go ahead and repeat that for the pocket on the other side, which I won't bore you with. We'll just jump ahead. I'm now going to serge across the tops of the straps, so top of 4 of them. If you're not using an overlocker, you can just skip the step and French seam, but I want to use an overlocker. I certainly can show you how we can French seam it, so let me just zip away and overlock the top of these. You could zigzag them as well if you wanted to. I 3-thread overlocked this, serged it right at the very edge, and I didn't cut anything off. So if you were going to French seam this, what you do is you start off by sewing wrong sides together. So what we would do, so let me show you if you were going to French seam this. Place this right side up, and we want to work on this shoulder here first. So this is the left shoulder as if you were wearing it. And what we need to do is we need to match the opposite side to it. So we're crisscrossing over. So that's the seam we're working on first. If you were French seaming this, sew those this way together in a very small seam, so it would be 5mm, 1/4 inch, smaller if you can, and then you would be turning it again through like this and sewing it again. So you sew it the wrong way, so you'd be sewing wrong sides together first and then right sides together. So because I'm just using a plain sewer, here's my front, right side up, my left shoulder as if I'm wearing it. I'm bringing the other side across, so now I have right sides together, and I am going to match that and stitch it together in a 1 centimetre, 3/8 of an inch seam, remembering to back tack. And when you've done that shoulder, we're going to do the other shoulder. So bring that across, making sure we have right sides together. And go to your iron and press that seam open like that. So now we're going to turn the hem up, or the seam around the outside. It's up to you again which way you want to do it. You could zigzag and turn this under and stitch down. I was going to do a narrow hem here, but what I've found is this fabric with the gold thread through it is really fraying, so I'm going to do a serged edge at 6mm, 1/4 inch, and then plain stitch down. To do a double fold, which is really tidy, and most people want to know what is the easiest way of doing it. Well, you double press it. First of all, you press it by 1/4 inch, and then you go back with your iron and you fold with that raw edge to the first press line, and then you press it again, and that's how you get that perfect narrow hem. You could also use a narrow rolled hem foot if you have one. So what you do is, as I said, you press like that, you fold under to the press line, and then you press it again. You don't need pins then, and all it takes is just time and perseverance with your iron, but you do get an absolutely perfect look to the hem. What I'm going to do, as I said, is I'm going to now serge around the whole outside of my garment, and I'm going to stitch this down. My edge is serged here, and just remember when you sew this, you will be sewing it continuously, so where you start is where you finish, so it's a good idea to start somewhere under an arm just to make sure everything's nice and tidy. Okay, so go ahead and do some quality control work, trim any stray threads, give your garment a really good press, and you're finished. Thanks so much for joining me for this sew along video. I hope you enjoy your garment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And also, if you want to, join my Facebook pattern discussion group, and you can see garments that other people have made with my pattern. So happy sewing, thanks for joining me, see you again soon.